Hello everyone, and welcome back to Speak Flow English, the place where learning English feels natural, friendly, and easy to follow. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Daniel. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Today's episode is going to be really helpful, especially if you ever feel nervous introducing yourself in English.
Yes, because for a lot of learners, introductions are the first moment that feels stressful. You know your name, of course, but then suddenly you have to talk about your job, your hometown, your hobbies, your daily life, and your personality, all in English.
And sometimes your mind goes completely blank.
Exactly. You think you know what to say, and then when someone says, "Tell me about yourself," your brain just freezes.
That's why today's episode is called Nail English Introductions Fast. Talk about yourself like a pro podcast.
And by the end of this episode, you'll have a much clearer idea of how to introduce yourself naturally, confidently, and in a way that sounds real, not memorized.
Yes, we're not going to give you a dry list of sentences.
No boring classroom robot English today.
Instead, we'll talk through real situations, real phrases, and real examples that you can actually use in conversations.
And if you're listening carefully, you'll notice how the same patterns can be reused again and again. That is the secret.
Right, because English introductions are not just about one perfect sentence. They're about building a small conversation that feels easy.
So let's start with something simple. Sophia, if someone meets you for the first time, what do you usually say?
Usually, I begin with my name, of course. Then I say a little bit about what I do.
Good. That's the basic structure.
Yes, for example, I might say, "Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm an English teacher, and I help people improve their speaking skills."
Very clear, very natural.
And the key here is not to overcomplicate it. A strong introduction is usually short, confident, and friendly.
That's important. A lot of learners think they need to say everything at once, but actually, people prefer something simple and easy to follow.
Exactly. So let's imagine you walk into a classroom, a meeting, or a language exchange event.
Someone smiles and says, "Hi, I'm Daniel. What's your name?"
And then you say, "Hi, I'm Sophia."
That's it.
Just that first step already makes a good impression.
But after that, the conversation usually continues.
Yes, then comes the next natural question. Where are you from?
One of the most common introduction questions in English.
Very common. And many learners know the answer, but still feel nervous saying it.
Because they want to sound smooth and confident.
Exactly. So instead of just saying, "So I'm from Pakistan," which is understandable but not complete, you can say, "I'm from Pakistan. I live in Salvador."
Much better.
Simple, natural, and correct.
And if you want to add a little more, you can say, "I was born in Salvador, and I've lived here most of my life."
Nice. That gives the listener a little more to work with.
Which is what a good introduction does. It opens the door for conversation.
That's a great way to say it. An introduction should open the door, not close it.
Exactly. You want the other person to think, "Oh, interesting. Tell me more."
And that leads us to another important part, your job or what you do.
For many people, this is the hardest part.
Yes, especially if they are students, freelancers, homemakers, job seekers, or people with more than one role.
That's right. Sometimes learners feel like they need a perfect title.
But you don't. You just need a clear way to explain your situation.
For example, you can say, I'm a student, or I work in marketing, or I'm currently looking for a job.
Those are all perfectly fine.
And if you want to sound a little more natural, you can add a detail.
Like, I'm a student and I'm studying computer science.
Or, I work in marketing, and I usually handle social media campaigns.
Very good. That makes the conversation feel fuller.
And again, the goal is not to sound like a speech. The goal is to sound like a real person.
Yes, real people don't speak in long, perfect paragraphs when they first meet someone. They speak in small pieces.
Short and useful pieces.
Let's practice one more basic line. If someone asks, "What do you do?" you can say, "I'm a teacher." "I work in customer service." Or, "I'm a student."
And if you're not working right now, you can say, I'm looking for work, or I'm taking some time to learn English.
Very natural, very honest.
And honesty is good in introductions. You don't need to pretend to be more impressive than you are.
Exactly. Confidence is better than exaggeration.
That's a strong lesson.
Now let's talk about something many people forget. Your personality.
Ah, yes. This is where your introduction starts to feel more human.
Right, because once you say your name, where you're from, and what you do, you can also say a little about who you are.
For example,
You can say, "I'm a friendly person." Or, "I'm quiet at first, but I open up when I get comfortable." Or, "I love meeting new people."
that adds color.
Exactly. It helps people remember you.
And it also gives them a clue about how to continue the conversation.
Yes, if you say, "I love reading," then the other person might ask, "What kind of books do you like?" Very easy.
That's the beauty of it.
So let's do a small example. Imagine I introduce myself like this. "Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm from Salvador. I'm an English teacher, and I really enjoy helping people speak more confidently. I'm also very interested in content creation and online learning."
That sounds polished, but still natural.
Thank you. And notice, I didn't say too much. I just gave enough information to start a good conversation.
That's the balance we want.
Now let's switch roles. Daniel, give me your introduction.
Okay. Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm from Lahore. I work in digital marketing, and I enjoy creating useful content. In my free time, I like listening to podcasts and spending time with my friends.
Very nice. Clear, simple, and easy to understand.
Great. So the listener is probably thinking, that sounds easy enough.
And it is. The trick is just to organize your thoughts.
Yes. Don't try to speak from a completely empty mind. Have a basic structure ready.
Exactly. A good structure makes you feel safer,
And when you feel safer, you speak more naturally.
which means you sound better.
Right. So let's build that structure step by step.
First, name.
Second, where you're from.
Third, what you do.
Fourth, one or two interests or personality details.
That's the basic formula.
Simple, useful, repeatable.
And if you want, you can also add why you're there.
Like at a class, a meetup, or a new job.
Yes, for example, "I'm here to improve my English." Or, "I'm here because I just joined the team."
That makes your introduction more specific.
And specificity is good. It makes you sound more confident and real.
Exactly. because vague introductions can feel flat.
So instead of saying just, I'm a student, you might say, I'm a business student, and I'm especially interested in communication.
That sounds much stronger.
And instead of saying, I like music, you can say, I really enjoy classical music. Or, I listen to pop music every day. Or, I play the guitar in my free time.
Much better.
Now, let's talk about one of the most important secrets in introductions. Tone.
Ah, yes. Tone matters a lot.
You can say the exact same sentence in a flat, nervous voice, and it will sound weak.
But if you say it with a calm, friendly tone, it sounds confident.
That's true. English is not only words, it's also energy.
And people notice that immediately.
So when you introduce yourself, try to sound relaxed,
Not too fast.
not too quiet.
Not like you're reading a school answer.
Exactly. You want it to sound like a conversation.
Let's give an example.
Good idea.
Bad version. My name is Daniel. I am from Salvador. I work in marketing. I like friends.
That last one sounds a little strange.
Yes, it does.
Better version. Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm from Salvador and I work in marketing. In my free time, I enjoy spending time with friends and listening to podcasts.
That sounds much more natural.
Exactly. Same message, better flow.
Flow matters a lot.
And that's what today's episode is really about. Getting your English to flow.
Nice.
Now, before we move on, let's talk about the emotional side of introductions.
Good point.
Because sometimes people don't struggle with grammar. They struggle with confidence.
Yes, they know the words, but they feel shy.
Or they worry about making mistakes.
Or they think their English is not good enough.
And that stops them.
But the truth is, most people are not judging your grammar as much as you think.
Exactly. Most people are just happy to understand you.
So a simple introduction with a warm smile can be more powerful than a perfect one with fear behind it.
Very true.
Let's say someone at a language event says, "Hi, I'm Daniel."
And you say, Hi, I'm Sophia. Nice to meet you.
That's already enough to begin.
Yes, then you can slowly add more.
You don't need to say everything in one breath.
And that's a lesson many learners need to hear.
Absolutely.
So now, in the next part, we'll go deeper into how to answer common introduction questions naturally, how to talk about your hobbies, and how to make your self-introduction sound more interesting without sounding forced.
Yes, and we'll also show you how to avoid the most common mistakes learners make when talking about themselves in English.
That's coming up next.
Stay with us.
We'll be right back.